And it's one thing to make something that flies. Everything flies. I mean, you can make, that's the first thing I learned from Bob Wills about hang glider design. There's no trick to making something fly. There's no magic. Everything flies. A picnic table flies. You just need enough power or steep enough hill, it flies. But to make something that flies well, that performs well, that is safe, that is controllable, that's something else. My name's Steve Pearson. I'm one of the managing partners at Wills Wing and the principal design engineer here. I've always wanted to be an engineer. So from the time I was a kid, I don't know if it was something my parents suggested, but I always expected I was going to be an aeronautical engineer. So I went to school for mechanical engineering, and then I did graduate work in aeronautical engineering. I think I was maybe a little bit sheltered in my childhood and teenage years, and I went to a boarding school, and I'd spend a lot of time in the library reading the Mechanics Illustrated, and always it was interested in things that flew. But I didn't really have exposure to hands-on at airports. Wasn't an airport brat. I didn't have an opportunity really to be around airplanes as a kid. My first exposure to hang gliding was probably the 1972 edition of National Geographic that inspired so many people. It's kind of credited with, in large part, getting a lot of people involved in hang gliding. And I would have been 15 years old at that time. All flying to me is fun, whether it's an airplane or, a balloon or a helicopter or a paraglider or a model airplane. It's all, I enjoy all of that. But there's something unique about hang gliding in that it's the most closely coupled experience to actually having your own wings. It's the dynamic sensation of if you just blur your eyes and zone out just a little bit, you can feel like your body flying. You're very closely associated with the glider, and that's not something that you get with any other aircraft. In a conventional small airplane or three-axis airplane, you have controls. You're interacting through, with the aircraft through controls that feel a lot like a video game. With a paraglider, the wing is far removed above you, and there's a different dynamic sensation. But with a hang glider, it almost feels like the wings are coming out of your back. Since I was, 20 years old, hang gliding has been, a focus. That was all I was interested in. I flew, every weekend, every day. I flew 5 days a week. I never missed an opportunity to go flying. I'd drive, 500, 700 miles a day to find a place to fly. So that's the way it was in my 20s. So that sensation of being able to just walk up to launch, you feel the wind in your face, you take a couple of steps and just lift off and float away and just shift one way or the next, and you're circling up. And no other form of aviation feels like that. So we count every glider size as a different model. So doing that, there's over 100 gliders that have been certified and that I've designed. I guess starting with the Alpha, that was a cooperative project with Mike Meyer for the first Alpha 215, and then after that came the Alpha 155, the Alpha 185, the Alpha 245. There was the Omni, which is a high-performance version of that. We had an Omni 180 and an Omni 220. There were three sizes of the Omega. That was a floater glider. There was a Raven 149, 179, 209, and 229. Yeah, it goes, there's a lot of them. I can name them all if you want. But
That's okay, actually. That's pretty good.
You absolutely cannot design a hang glider without being a hang glider pilot and being a pretty good hang glider pilot. And I don't know anybody in the history of hang gliding who's been successful as a hang gliding, product developer, designer, engineer without being a good pilot. And I would say that the best gliders in the industry, the ones that I think are, have distinguished themselves from others, have all been designed by pilots or designers who are extraordinarily good pilots. They're just a specialized kind of aircraft that's what we would think of as highly aeroelastic. That means it changes shape a lot depending on the loads that it's subjected to. This flexibility in the wing has a big effect in the way the glider flies. The flexibility is also determined by the batten density and the shape of the battens and the amount of unsupported sail out in the outer portion of the wing. So it's a matter of kind of coming to an iterative balance of all these components. All of these things independently contribute to the flexibility of the wing. And do I want a flexier leading edge, or do I want more unsupported wing, or do I want a lower batten density? And somehow that all has to come together to optimize the weight, the handling, the performance. And there's no textbook to do that. It's just an intuition based on previous experience. Designing the sail is the real puzzle. has the most influence on the way the glider flies, performs, and handles. Very small changes in the fit of the sail have huge consequences in the controllability and qualitative behavior of the glider. It's not something you can precisely engineer and design for like a hard physical part. It pretty much takes everybody at Wilswing to make a hang glider, and by that I mean that there's no functions that are duplicated by the same person. Everybody has pretty much one function, and the function is expansive enough that it's pretty much the limits of one person's ability to learn how to do to perform that skill. Winter of 1975, fall, winter of 1975, I moved out to California, and at that time I had my I had my standard that I'd made from my tubing and a sail, and I had my high performance glider, higher aspect ratio glider that I designed from scratch, and I was flying at Pine Flats. But everybody that was flying from Pine Flats at that time pretty much would take off and fly straight down. There were extended flights and soaring flights, but people would drive up 3, 4, 5 times a day and just take flights. And I distinctly remember I was up there, and people were taking off and fluttering to landing area, and the Wills truck came roaring up the hill. And the Wills guys always arrived, with a huge presence, mostly because Bobby drove about 2 times faster than anybody else did. I was standing there, and I distinctly remember the Wills guys getting set up, and I looked over and I saw Dave Vincent standing there. Dave was one of the Wills pilots, groupies, and it was blowing like 15 miles an hour, midday conditions, and he just said, "Well, this is how it's done," and he was just holding the glider, in the breeze, and he took a step and he went up, and then Kurt Kiefer took off, and then Bobby took off, and they all went up and were 1,000 feet over takeoff, while everybody else was fluttering to landing area. And I thought, well, clearly these are the guys that know how to do it, and I should hang out with them. And that was kind of the beginning of my association with the Wills crowd. So it's important whenever you're designing or developing a product to have some kind of objective way of evaluating how whether you're achieving your design objectives. Often our subjective feelings when we're flying the glider are inaccurate and can mislead us. We're going to measure one specific performance parameter, glide performance.
Ready, go, go, go. Okay, I'm pulling up next to you right now. Okay, looking good. We're holding 42 miles an hour. Alright, this is 2 minutes and about 1.5 wingspans above you. Okay, let's hold it for another 2 minutes. Okay, turn around and form up on me. You'll have to come down and get me.
No matter who you talk to who's participating in hang gliding, even those people who've just taken glider rides, but especially hang glider pilots, everyone would agree that it's just participating in hang gliding has been a transformative experience in their life, that is something unique and special and can't be replaced by anything, not any other kind of aviation or really any other kind of sport. But still, it's the biggest issue and the biggest constraint is that it's inconvenient at times. We have to have these heavy, awkward structures that take a long time to learn how to fly and require special transportation. And we have the opportunity in the near future to improve all of those things that are the last obstacles to making hang gliding more accessible to more people and more convenient for those of us that are already pilots, to make them lighter, to make them easier to fly, to make them easier to transport, to remove those last barriers to making this, just really unique and special way of flying more accessible to all of us.